Vault Veritas SCP Files. Episode 6 Peer Reviewed. Incident 1471-10. 10th known incident involving SCP-1471, first known internal incident occurring outside of planned testing. Object Class: Euclid. Risk Assessment Level: Moderate. Reported by Dr. Lucas Costa. Report made April 2nd, 2023. I am so scared. I am so scared that they're going to discredit me. I know that whoever is reading this must be an officer as well, and we stick together, don't we? You have to help me. I think they're going to take away my position and discredit my work, and it's not my fault. I'm compromised. I could have just lived with it, not told anyone, but I chose to speak up about it and seek help. Why am I being treated this way? I made the right decision. Shouldn't I be thanked for that? Or genuinely helped? It wasn't my fault, and I have so much useful knowledge left to share. I have so much left to contribute. This is Dr. Rika's fault. I know it is. Why are none of you going after her? This is yet another one of her little pranks because she's just so jealous of my superior intellect. She's the one who should be discredited for all of this, not me. Of the two of us, I have contributed far more to the Foundation's collection of knowledge. SCP-1471 was just a tiny part of a whole system of SCPs I have been studying for decades. I specialize in the technological anomalies that are difficult or impossible to contain. All the anomalous and hazardous pieces of code, and mobile applications and datasets that are just out there, uncontained on the web. I've designed targeted malware to disable affected machines. I've created targeted access restrictions for affected games. I've been useful. What has Dr. Rika done? Some patchy research based on logical fallacies and riddled with selection and sampling errors. And she barely even knows the difference between correlation and causation. I'm certain that if you run the numbers, my difficult-to-contain SCPs have claimed fewer victims than hers that are already here and in their dubious containments. She's jealous of me. That's the only explanation. She was the one who started the antics. You have to believe me. We never liked each other. I'm an absolute gentleman with a sharp intellect and a commitment to professionalism at all times. And she is a boorish hothead who can't tell an independent variable from a dependent one. So of course we didn't exactly get along. I remember the first time she actually did something, though. I had just gone to my office to write up a set of research notes, minding my own business, when I found my pen didn't seem to write, even though it had plenty of ink. I systematically went through every pen in my office, scribbling on sticky note after sticky note, until I realized at last that she'd swapped my normal pens for ones with invisible ink. Hilarious. What a waste of my valuable time. I responded, of course, by filling her stapler with glitter. I'm told her whole office sparkled distractingly for weeks. Serves her right. She didn't take the hint, though, and the next thing I know, I'm sitting down at my computer, and half of the images I was looking at ended up replaced with pictures of Nicolas Cage. Apparently, there's a browser extension that finds and replaces actually useful images with his face. Why anyone would want that is a mystery. But this is the sort of bizarre thing that her tortured mind comes up with. It's demented. She needs help. No, she needs to take the fall for this, and I need help. The most obvious response to the Nicolas Cage debacle was, of course, to change the clocks in her office to be 1 hour fast, making her late for a rather important meeting about her most recent findings. I heard she rather irritated our site director with her tardiness. If we're honest, I'd hoped it would end with a reprimand. But no, she always gets off easy. Must be that feminism nonsense at work. 1 week later, and I returned to an office filled with helium balloons, garishly colored and squeezed into every inch of space available, so that I had to pop them to even get inside. Don't you see? She started it, and she's the one who escalated it every time. But it was never harmful. No one ever actually got hurt. She has been torturing me like that for almost 6 months now. I wanted it to stop. So I may have... And you cannot blame me for this after all she's done. I may have filled her coffee pot with a laxative last month. Just a mild one, mind you. I wasn't trying to actually hurt her. Just give her something unpleasant to deter her from her pranks. How was I supposed to know she drank 6 cups of coffee a day? I heard she was out for the better part of a week recovering. And I still contest that it was her own fault. I didn't start this. I'm not responsible. Who even drinks that much coffee? It was just a few days ago that it all came to a head. I never considered that she'd actually go this far. She must have known that although SCP-1471 doesn't kill you, it also doesn't go away. She must have known that. I refuse to believe that this was an accident. It's a hit. She knew that it would compromise me. She knew how security would react. This is a hit. Don't you see? She's trying to discredit me, take away my life's work and my research by making me compromised. Perhaps if I'd spent more time working with data from 1471, I might have recognized it. But look, I'm too important for that. There's code out there that can kill you. 1471 just didn't seem that important by comparison. So why would I have ever actually looked into it? It's a phone application called Malo version 1.0.0. It's honestly very easy to tell that it's anomalous. It has no developer, installs no shortcuts or icons onto your phone, and has no app reviews. We've been monitoring application stores for it, and sometimes it'll just pop up there with no approval processes needed. So it's easy to tell that something is wrong with it. And the people who download it, despite those red flags, clearly don't know anything about technology. What happens to them is their own fault. But you see, I didn't download it. I would never do something like that. I know better. I know what to look for and what to avoid. I didn't do this to myself. This was Dr. Rika. I leave my work phone in my office on weekends because I don't take work home with me. You can't blame me for that. It's not a security breach. My office stays locked. But somehow, she got inside it and downloaded that app onto it. I started getting the photos on Monday morning. The first was of my house, taken from the street in front. Standing off to the bottom right of the photo was the Mallow. It was large, much taller than a person, and vaguely humanoid, standing on long, hairy legs that bent unnaturally backwards. Instead of a face, it had a canid skull with milky white eyes that locked onto mine, vicious teeth bared in a wide smile. It was unnerving, of course, but I honestly didn't think much of it. I knew Dr. Rika had my number, and I assumed she was trying to scare me. I was not about to let her silly antics get to me, though it did alarm me that she knew where my house was. I screenshot the picture to share with security later and continued about my day. The next photo came about 12 hours later. This one was of our site building, and the Mallow was just starting to enter the door, turning around to wave at the camera with that awful dead grin upon its skull, and its unnaturally long arm raised upwards almost cheerfully. I remember actually rolling my eyes, thinking to myself how silly she is for trying to make me panic, and I wasn't about to let her affect my research. I screenshot that one too and continued to work. The frequency began to increase. A photo of my favorite lunch spot, with the Mallow sitting at my regular table, misshapen hand upon the menu. Then it was the bathroom in the hall outside my office, the creature staring at one of the stalls as though looking through to its occupant. They just kept coming, the frequency increasing. I kept screenshotting, building up my case against Dr. Rika. But finally, on the fourth morning, I received the image that truly made my blood run cold. It was of me, sitting at my desk, the work I had just started minutes prior open on my computer. The Mallow is standing right behind me, staring at the computer screen over my shoulder, its skull-like jaw inches from the top of my head. I screamed and whirled around, but there was nothing there. Running to the hallway, I realized it was empty, and I had the sudden mental image of Dr. Rika taking the photo and then legging it down the hallway, snickering to herself. I had just screamed and given her the satisfaction. Well, that just about did it. I wasn't going to sit around and just take that harassment a moment longer. I wish I hadn't made the call to the site manager. I wish I had properly looked into 1471 when it first came across my desk. It didn't take them long to realize what I had been exposed to, but it was long enough to pass the 90 hours after my initial exposure. That's the cutoff point, you see, after which it stops needing photographs at all. I see the Mallow everywhere, in my vision's periphery, just around every corner. It's irreversible. It will be here forever, amnestics or no. The mallow isn't what's scary, you see. I know what it is, and I know that it can't hurt me. It follows, and that's all. I don't care one whit about it. But this one harmless creature is going to ruin the entirety of my life work. Dr. Rika is going to win. They cry, "Memetically compromised," and all hell breaks loose. They're combing through my work, making sure it's done properly, that my condition hasn't affected it. And they won't listen to me when I tell them that they can trust the work, that my intellect has not been affected, that my good name should not be sullied. They won't listen to who is really to blame. They're going to take away everything. Even if they realize my work is solid, they'll take my name off it, cover up my involvement. They'll send me away to live in isolation with no recognition and this thing that stalks me. Dr. Rika is watching me and laughing. I just know it. Sometimes I can't tell if it's the mallow that's watching or her, lingering just out of my sight, laughing at what she's done. Every shadow contains either the specter of that canine skull or her twisted, merciless grin. Every corridor contains the threat of her continued harassment, and the ghoulish creature's reminder that she's destroyed my life. It's still her actions now, isn't it? She's turned the rest of you against me, hasn't she? I see it in all of your innocent actions. They're all veiled attacks. She's using you. She's using you all. Open your eyes. I find myself constantly looking over my shoulder, feeling the mallows in Dr. Rika's eyes watching me. Why is nobody listening to my side of the story? You must step in and help. Make them listen to me. Please tell me she hasn't gotten to you too. A life with no way to use my intelligence, no way to contribute, to be seen and recognized? I can't bear it. I simply can't bear it. He couldn't bear it. The attached security record confirms that which he feared came to pass. He was stripped of his title and place here, sent on permanent psychiatric leave, and his name was removed from a large swath of research to prevent people looking into his history. Having a memetically compromised researcher's name on containment procedures and research would cast doubt on its integrity, and nobody was willing to have that. Shortly after, Dr. Costa attacked Dr. Rika on her morning walk into their site, resulting in the deaths of both researchers. I wonder how much Dr. Rika really did have to do with this. It seems self-evident that she did something, so why was she not disciplined for it? Or perhaps the investigation was ongoing. There's not enough information here to say, and I doubt Miranda would want to discuss this. I'm going to see her tomorrow. I just have too many questions, and I need some answers. Although, if this report is anything to go by, perhaps I ought to watch my colleagues a little more closely than I have been. Niall is still gone, and Merriweather has not shown up at all. I'm sure they're just busy. But it seems more and more that I cannot trust just anyone around here. Niall's warning to take care with my questions is still firmly in my mind. Was he warning me about Miranda? Or about himself? I'm overthinking this. I have questions, and Miranda does have an open door policy. I'm going to go, first thing tomorrow morning. I'm sure all my worries are simply unfounded.
Vault Veritas, SCP Files, is a podcast inspired by the SCP Foundation. Peer Reviewed is based on SCP-1471 by Lurked from the SCP Wiki located at scp-wiki.com/SCP-1473. It is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 3.0 Unported License. This episode was performed by Justin Gellner, and it was written and edited by Leola Angel. We welcome comments. Please email us at vaultveritas@gmail.com. Join our Discord channel using the link in the episode description. Or if you'd like, visit our Patreon, listed as Vault Veritas SCP Files. Thanks for listening.